One of the things that I've learned from making this YouTube series of videos for the Astrocade is that I concentrate far too much on how they sound and not the content so much. I guess I do concentrate on the content, but I try to make them sound great, and I'm not sure why I do that. I'm going to concentrate on that less. I just want them to be listenable. I've had some comments that sometimes you can hear my mouth noises and stuff like that, and I've tried to reduce that, and hopefully I have. I'm using some techniques taught to me by a friend of mine, but I'm not going to get so hung up on this anymore. Either you like these videos or you don't, I guess. So this video that we're going to be talking about here is a game called Planet Mongo. Paul Thacker and I have been discussing whether or not we should start up the Astrocade podcast again, the BallyAlley Astrocast, and I thought maybe a good way to jump in would be to have a selection of our favorite type-in programs. And he sent me his selection on September 1st, 2018, and while we haven't talked about him yet, my friend Chris and I, we went through one of them that I was not familiar with called Planet Mongo by Fred Rodney. Here's comments by Paul Thacker. He just summed it up in a couple of sentences, I guess really one sentence. He says, "It's a unique physics-based game and a reminder that there can be games hiding in unpublished submissions." And what he means by that is the game wasn't published in the Arcadian, but it was submitted to it. Fred Rodney wrote a letter to the Arcadian on June 11th, 1984. He begins it with, "Problems with flood-damaged areas led to a postponement of my travel plans. However, I've come up with the enclosed game based on the great Arcadian programs and past issues, one from May 1984. And he ends up talking about these more in his documentation. He's referring to Orbit Demo by Ron Picardi, which was written July 13th, 1981 and published in the December 1981 issue of the Arcadian, which was in volume 4. That program actually hasn't been archived. We have a raw 300 baud version of it, but we can't get it to archive digitally, so if we're going to use it, we'll probably have to retype it. And he also talks about a program called Circle Plotter, which he said is from the May 1984 issue and is by Bally Arcade. However, that's actually a reprint. The program was originally published in the January 1981 issue in volume 3. Fred talks about, in the second paragraph, "I'm sending this program now because I think it would be of great interest to game-hungry readers. I took the liberty of including the words 'an Arcadian game' in the title and listed myself as editor of this program because the Arcadian deserves a great deal of thanks for printing utilities, especially if they are the very heart of a game or of smooth movement control." So that's what he says about the game here. What I always find interesting is how these programmers learn from one another. If it hadn't have been for Orbit Demo and Circle Plotter, maybe he wouldn't have written this program at all. Since I have the entire Arcadian collection available to me, here is what Orbit Demo looks like from its original printing. And it says this about the program. "Orbit Demo is a tutorial program for the space game programmers. You can see the results of the force of gravity on your spacecraft. REM statements, period, are included to show how the circle routines work. The following numbers will make an orbit or circle," and then he goes on to say what the x, y, d, and e variables do. "There are several other combinations that will make different size orbits. Other number combinations cause elliptical orbits or wrap around to take effect. Have fun with this one." The program is by Ron Picardi. And what I love is that Fred Rodney actually took this program and ran with it and made a game out of it. And going backwards here, we've got from about 6 months earlier, a program by Bally Arcade, who did a lot of machine language programming and is one of my favorite programmers in the Arcadian. He wrote a program that makes circles, and there's no way to actually make circles in BASIC unless you have one of the expanded BASICs that require extra RAM. This one actually draws circles using the box command, so it's really slow. But these circles were used at the end of Planet Mongo in order to show an explosion, and it works pretty good. All of these comments that you're listening to now were actually recorded after my friend Chris and I, we played the game with some background, reading some background material, and I was just going to throw it up like that, but after researching the program a little bit, I found there was a lot to this program, and it's also one of my favorite programs that I've played, so I have to completely agree with Paul. Great choice, Paul. You are right, and you most often are when it comes to these classic game systems. So I agree with you here. and you'll be able to hear Chris's comments and mine as we play the game and talk about it. These are the instructions for Planet Mongo, as well as a printout, well, I guess a typed printout of the program listing. After we play this game, you'll be able to look at our actual BASIC program listing as I type list from BASIC. So here's what Fred says about his program. And he writes this all, as you can see, in a typewriter font that is supposed to look like cursive. And so I did end up some years back making this easier to read, and I don't think I retyped it. I think I just dictated it so that I could enter it easily and it could be read easier. Planet Mongo has a nuclear waste disposal problem. Within 99 ticks, and this is a countdown timer in the game, you'll see that on the top right of the screen. On the clock, 100 points must be played. Bonuses are 200 and 300. And these instructions are a little confusing, and these will work themselves out a little better as you watch gameplay. But what ends up happening is you get a small amount of points for each time you get rid of some of this nuclear waste that surrounds the planet. And every single time you get up to 100 points, your bonus timer goes back up to 99 ticks. If the clock strikes 0, the planet explodes with complete nuclear meltdown. Cloud layers form, continents collide, the planet spins and breaks apart from the force. Finally, the planet cools and forms a dense globe in space. The satellite and nuclear waste disposal unit can still be seen orbiting Planet Mongo, and the game over flag appears. That sounds awesome. Doesn't that sound like a great game? Well, it is a great game, but the graphics don't, or the graphics of this game don't do that paragraph's justice. If it looked like that, this would be a 3D game probably for the PS1 or something like that. So when the game is played, you squeeze the trigger to start it and to replay. You use the joystick in port 1 as normal, and the knob controls your rate of movement, and we described that a little better while we're playing the game. And the satellite will move away and toward the top of the screen depending on its orbit. And you're always firing, and you basically want to get your crosshairs over the satellite that orbits so you can destroy it. And that's basically the whole game. And it doesn't look too fancy. When you're looking at the game, you might have a hard time understanding why it might be fun. But like with many games that don't have a lot going for them in the graphics department on the Astrocade, especially one of my favorite games, The Pits, its graphics do not really let you understand how fun the game is to play. This is one of those games. I think this game would be a really great game to remake in machine language for this system or any system. I can't recall ever seeing another game quite like this. Chris and I mentioned this game looks a little like a few games that maybe Missile Command or something like that, but really it's a almost, I think it's unique in its gameplay. We go more into that while we're playing the game. And but one of the things here that's neat about this program and instructions, and Fred Rodney wrote some great instructions for his games, is that he explains how the program works to some extent and how he uses the circle plotter in his program, and also how the orbit demo is used in his program. So if you want to know how the program works and where he used both circle plotter and the orbit demo, you can read these instructions and find out. He goes into quite a bit of detail, and I know that there's some users on the BallyAlley Yahoo group, specifically Ken, who really appreciate these kind of details. And I like them too. I'm not going to take this program apart and try to figure it out line for line, but this would not be too hard to do with the background material that is provided by Fred. Some final thoughts by Fred are that the two programs he used were great basic utility shorts that can be adapted and still leave enough room for good programming. Planet Mongo is not just any game, he says. Through simulation, the satellite size is a 3D game. And I agree. It doesn't look like a 3D game if you didn't know it was. It looks like some... You'll see in a moment what I'm talking about. The game is 3D though, and once you wrap your head around the movement of the satellite that orbits your planet, you can kind of almost see it in 3 dimensions. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But in order to appreciate that, and I think see that, you have to play the game. Looking at this video, it's hard to see. So if you have an Astrocade, try this program sometime. I think you'll enjoy it. And I say that about pretty much any video I do, because I don't do videos of games that I don't like. So if you see a video that I'm making and I say, don't try it, it's because it's a really poor game. But I don't enjoy playing games that I don't like, and I don't pick on them. So why would I make a video about them? Especially when I put some effort into these things, finding background material and such. So I'm going to stop here talking about the background. Watch us play the game. We play for about 12 minutes, 13 minutes. And after that, you'll be able to see a printout of the listing and followed by some credits. I've enjoyed playing this game. Thanks again to Paul for recommending it, to Chris for playing it with me, and to the Astrocade users out there who enjoy watching these videos. Getting ready to load a Planet Mongo. Doing it this way so it'll automatically run. Pressing play. And it's going to take about 20 seconds to load this game up.
Now, this game was never submitted to the Arcadian. Is that correct?
It was submitted to the Arcadian. It was not published.
I see.
Yeah. It went in with a submission, I think, with 3 other games, and those 3 other games by Fred Rodney were published in about 1984, I think in Volume 6 of the Arcadian. Chris is going to be playing this game first.
Well, he thought to clear all the stars away from around the planet so that the satellite graphic wouldn't conflict with them. Well, as you can probably guess, I'm moving the crosshairs around. The laser beam is firing automatically, and the blinking is automatic.
It comes with it for free.
Right. New blinking included.
The point of this game is this circle in the middle is a planet. Oh, it's picking that up, so we need to turn this down. Well, we'll turn that down. You won't have to hear that, because I just heard it twice, right?
I only shot the thing once.
I know, but it's picking it up on this microphone.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
We'll figure out something.
Yeah.
Hey, growing pains. Growing pains.
Yeah. This is a type-in game, by the way, in case that wasn't obvious. Not always.
This was pointed out to me by my friend Paul Thacker, because he enjoys this game, and he made a list of his top 5 type-in games for the Astrocade. And while this has been archived in BallyAlley for many years, I've never played it. There's many hundreds of programs on there, and I've only played a fraction of them before. And so Chris and I are trying this for the first time tonight.
Moving or turning the knob to the left decreases the speed of your crosshairs, and turning it to the right increases the speed of your crosshairs, which of course basically means how much space goes by.
That's
between one position and the next goes by. That was a funny one.
Oh, you got a lot of points for that one.
Yeah, this is a satellite orbiting the planet. When the clock hits 0, the satellite's going to run into the planet because it's a mean satellite. But I don't know if you've noticed, whoever's watching, first of all, I commend you for watching this. It means you're sincerely interested in type-in games for the Bally Professional Arcade /
And they've got taste. Those people have taste.
Yeah, well, of course they do. I mean, come on, this is a basic game somebody came up with from scratch. There's a lot of very impressive math going on that I don't understand. Not much of a stretch, I'll grant you that. But
with the orbit, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, they are consistent arcs. Anyway.
You better hit that thing pretty soon, otherwise you're going to run out of...
With every 100-point interval,
there you go.
I get more time. As a matter of fact, the clock goes all the way back to 99.
Yeah. You're getting close.
Yeah, getting there. You may have also noticed that you get a lot more points the farther away the satellite is.
It's like 1 pixel right now.
I know. Ooh. I thought it was a star for a second there. Barely made it. Look at that.
Oh, wow. That's as close as you can get to an...
I know.
Wow.
To 1 pseudo-second left.
Now you're just showing off for the camera. I see how it is.
That's exactly what I'm doing, actually. I've been practicing this game. I don't know how. You do need the actual console.
I think you've been playing the port in the latest PlayStation, right?
I have, absolutely.
Yeah.
They didn't get the blinking quite right, though. That's the problem. You don't have to keep the trigger depressed, so you don't have to say bad trigger.
In fact, you don't ever have to press it at all.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think it's used.
It's automatically firing over and over. While the planet is flashing, that means my clock is resetting because I've passed a 100-point interval. Problem is, if you get anywhere near the planet with the crosshairs while this is happening, somebody on the planet will decide to blow up the planet, I guess, because he thinks your crosshair is an invading alien. I'm just making up plot here. But yeah, you don't want to get near the planet because if you shoot the satellite while it's sort of overlapping the planet, even though it's only a perspective thing, the program will prioritize the planet being blown up instead of the satellite.
So this is kind of interesting. Chris was mentioning that he thinks more thought went into this explosion that's going on here. The documentation is very specific about what's happening here, and like this is the fallout, I guess, that's surrounding the planet now.
I thought we were getting ready to play a Star Castle-esque bonus screen, but
that would be cool. So Chris wrote a game for me many years ago, and you're playing asteroids, and then Jaws comes out and swallows you, and that seems like something that might happen if you program this game right there.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, it's because of the music in Asteroids, you know.
So the game is still doing its explosion. I mean, in a minute here I'll be able to restart, but I guess you can see it at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Now my game is over. And what's interesting is now, I guess there's another satellite orbiting around a destroyed planet?
I guess so. Well, the satellite does not have brains. It's not sentient. And so it's kind of the programmer rubbing it in your face. The satellite's still
here.
Fred.
Yeah. Thanks, Fred.
Appreciate
All right, so
that.
I'm going to try playing this game again. Turning the sky or outer space blue again.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can... Yeah, you're right. It does totally clear up the stars around the planet.
Right.
So, what was your score? Did you even note it?
368, I think.
Oh, yeah, right. Was it
Sounds
really?
right.
We can check that, you know.
Oh, you can? Oh, it was 12.
I think it was 5.51.
If I played Dragster, it would be 5 hours, 51 minutes.
Oh, man, I can never hit that. Let's see. God, look how tiny it is.
Look at a little Todd Rogers in-joke there.
Right.
Yeah, well, it says in the documentation it gets down to a pixel, 1 pixel, and at its closest, so to speak, to us, it gets up to 9 by 9.
There we go.
Or 9 pixels, which I guess is 3 by 3, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's hard to kind of remember to, like, I've moved my knob all the way to the left, and so I wasn't moving anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And so you got to be careful about that.
I have mentioned that I don't think it would have slowed the game down, but how would I know? It would have been nice if
Oh, wow. How many points do I get for that one?
Some indication of your current crosshair speed were on the screen. But maybe it would make it blink even more.
Yeah, probably so. Oh, I don't want to hit it there. So another thing Chris was mentioning is he thinks if we show this and we look at this video in observation and speed it up, we can maybe see what the satellite is, like how it's rotating a little better, because there's so much blinking going on here, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to see some kind of parabola or maybe a bunny rabbit. I don't know, some kind of geometric shape. So
one thing I like about this game is it's not a ripoff of anything, I don't think.
It's true.
It's original.
Slight Missile Command influence, but that's about it.
And it's pretty light in the life cycle of the Astrocade too, 1984.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
I love his optimism that he put, an Arcadian game on the title screen.
Right. Well, it is an Arcadian game. It finally got there. It just got published many years later.
Right. It's finally getting its due on YouTube.
All right. No, I meant it got uploaded to BallyAlley eventually.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of hard. Like the instructions say the orbit is predictable, but it's not predictable in my eyes.
I can't tell when it's changing its arc. Like the arc is consistent, but once in a while it changes.
It seems, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Clock ran down to 0. I'll let it do the game over, and then I think that'll be it.
Yeah, I think it's cool that he got the X, Y, and Z of the satellite. Unless it's shrinking and growing, but I think it's supposed to be a 3D perspective thing, and that's why it looks bigger the closer it is to us, because that's just how objects work.
It is, which is a wonderful thing about objects. They all work to some extent or other.
It was a great phrase.
Well, I like that explosion
That's
there.
cool,
That looks cool.
It's a great,
doesn't it remind you of that Sega game with the submarine, Subrock or something?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, it does look a lot like Subrock. It's a great Frank Zappa quote. The universe works whether we understand it or not.
Huh, and that's exactly what's happening right here.
Exactly. It's still working. Look at that. Even though my game's over. What's his name? Fred?
Fred?
He's going, aha, you didn't get the satellite. See, the thing is, you can't blow up the satellite. You just keep hitting it. But as in most video games...
So I'm going to play one more game so we can discuss what we think of this game. What do you think?
All right.
All right. So What do you think of this game?
I'm really torn. Really, really torn. I like that it exists because it's an original premise and somebody worked really hard on it. So I like that it's still available for playing, provided you've got the right equipment.
Right. And, which is an Astrocade. Really, that's all you need is an Astrocade.
Yeah, and something that plugs into an 1/8" headphone jack, right?
Yeah, phone or a computer or something or other.
Or even a tape player. Really. Oh, look at that.
Or yeah, I guess. Imagine that, loading this from tape. Now that would be the way to go.
Right. I think he did something very, very difficult with all the math involved here.
I'm getting extremely lucky here. What is going on? Oh, don't shoot it on the planet. I agree with your assessment. I think the game is it's kind of stretching what you normally see in the Astrocade. It's trying to do a 3-dimensional thing.
Right.
And if you didn't know that, it'd be pretty confusing because it's not making any sense. It looks like it's jumping randomly from spot to spot, but it's not. It is when you look at it, knowing that it's moving in 3D, sort of. I think I've got the high score.
Oh, look
I'm glad I played another game.
Yeah, you passed me.
Yeah. You know why? It's because I'm a better game player.
That must be it.
Now it's on camera.
Can't have anything to do with luck in this game.
No.
It is a bit dependent on luck, but I'd imagine that will diminish as you play this more and more. There is something addictive about it. You have to have an affinity for typing basic games. There's a certain mindset you get into in which you are completely concentrating on what was he probably going for versus what did he achieve. Yeah. And I think he achieved it.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, you've just explained to me that AstroBASIC is slower than, the Commodore 64 BASIC
for sure,
I may have grown accustomed to in the 80s.
Yeah.
I would still think this was impressive, especially without the blinking. If I typed this in from Run or Compute Magazine into a C64.
Well, I don't agree with. Like in 1984, when I would type in programs, or 85, or I guess I started typing in programs around 83. They were also much longer. The Commodore 64 had much more going for it, even if you were programming the sprites in BASIC. But this thing has no sprites. It's just bitmapped only. So, I mean, but still, if I type this in, comparing it to other Commodore 64 games, there's just no way. Comparing this to other Astrocade games, though, is something else entirely.
Right.
The Astrocade, while there are a lot of games written in it, many of them don't try to do what this one is doing.
You know what? I would have fun modifying this because I would have that luxury with, 32K of available BASIC.
Oh, you mean if you made it for the 64?
If I had typed this in, say, from a family computing compendium or something, I don't know. I would have had fun adding colors, not causing the characters
I'm out of time.
to disappear. Look at that.
So
595. Yeah. Not causing the characters to disappear before they get updated.
You mean the crosshairs?
What did I say?
Characters.
Yeah, I mean, all the characters
on
the screen are flashing except the planet because it doesn't have to move. But I think it's impressive. I think he achieved what he set out to do, and I could get addicted to this for about 7 minutes.
I think as long as we've played it so far.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Paul for pointing this out to me because I don't think I would have played it otherwise. And also, Fred, I think it's a cool name for the game, Planet Mongo. It sounds like something related to Flash Gordon.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I was thinking microswitch. What's the bus name? It's a 5-letter set of initials that apply to this console. Microswitch, bus, something. I thought it was a play on that. But now, evidently, I'm just talking nonsense given the facial expression on Adam's face. So.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.